historically at this time of the year, we've had water.
Uh-huh.
And, when I think back over the years, we've had water at this time. I do believe that there is some influencing going on,
Yeah, I
and there
do.
is some manipulating going on.
Absolutely.
Um, but they are also natural weather patterns that are being influenced and manipulated. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
being
just the thing that James and I noticed the last 2 nights was this really heavy rainfall overnight in a region where people are super traumatized already, and maybe it's just coincidence that
I
we
doubt it.
had basically had barely no rain during the day those 2 days, and then it just came down crazy heavy overnight both nights. So yeah, we don't know, do we? We don't know for sure, but we do know for sure. But
I think,
had,
given, yeah, I mean, regardless, I mean, there's a certain synchronicity. There's a certain, we can call it coincidence, but yeah, it just doesn't. How about I mean, I guess everything's died down with the COVID protest. I mean, because they've, I think, pulled back on a lot of things, haven't they? Except for the non-vaccinated in terms of air travel.
yeah, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
I've yeah, I mean, you would probably know more than I do because you've been doing your visa and stuff. But um, yeah, I think we can. I'm pretty sure that the whole time, like, everyone has been able to travel internally, domestically, without requiring the injection. Um,
I've heard it
but
both ways.
you can go. Well, you internationally as well.
No, no, I heard. We did a show last week, and I know Sasha Grace, who's there
Yeah,
near you. So somebody
yeah.
was on and said that they lifted it and that the vaccinated could travel interstate, but then she made a comment that still there still was restriction of some sort. Maybe it was a what do you call it, quarantine. If you still got to provide the test before you go
Yeah,
and all that.
yeah, you've still got to do the fake test and stuff.
Yeah, we're in the same thought process here. But yeah, it is, and it's very unfortunate. I feel for those people. I mean, what are the chances? I guess what are the odds? And then I saw the graph that
Yeah.
where it showed the historical rainfall, and then that last one it just went straight up. Like it wasn't even a
Hmm.
slight. It was a massive spike. And this one's. I just saw some
Yeah.
footage. Morgan sent me some footage of Byron Bay, and I guess it was like a main thoroughfare, and it was just like whoa. And it didn't
Yeah,
look.
the main street goes under. But Byron Bay is below sea level, so it's not unusual that you'll get flooding in Byron when there's lots of rain because of its geographic location, but the water does also subside quickly because of the sandy land and stuff. But yeah, I mean there was a lot of water in the main street of Byron this morning, and it looked like some of that water had gotten into the shops, which is kind of unusual as well.
Yeah, I saw it.
But in saying that, I've not been here for like 30 years. I did grow up in the region, but I've been away. And so people will say, well, you're not a local, you don't know. But yeah, I mean, I've got a fairly good idea of the weather patterns around here.
So I've had this download that there is a new world order, but it's the light workers and the dreamers and the weird people. And there's been,
100%.
well, there's been a just something in the air since the 22nd of February, and it certainly we talk a lot about the masculine and the feminine, but it certainly seems to be these posts that Morgan has put up over the last few days of what she's experiencing personally, and the comment threads, especially the one that she just put up, I believe, in the last 24
This,
hours,
Is that the one about the purging from the womb?
Yes,
Yeah, I haven't fully read it. I
yeah.
did see it this morning, and I was actually going to talk to you about that because I felt like yesterday was a real lightening in general. Like yesterday was something shifted yesterday with an influx of light, and at the same time, that's when there was a real poking of the trauma in this region as well. So as the light was coming in, there was a poking of the trauma here. And Abby, my eldest, woke up yesterday morning, had excruciating period pain, like she's never had before, and was in bed all day yesterday, which is really unusual for her, and slept most of the day, and was also throwing up yesterday morning. So I read the first part of Morgan's post and went, oh, I really resonate with that. And then I also saw that she noticed that she was having those pains, like abdominal pains and things, in the
Yeah.
week previous. And I was having that last week too, and I couldn't figure it out. I was like, maybe it's muscular, and because I've been having craniosacral treatments. But what she was describing, I've also experienced. I didn't experience that, the painful womb release, to the extent that she was describing, but Abby did yesterday. So, yeah, so definitely there was resonance with what she's written. And I haven't seen the comments from others either.
Well, I looked at the comment. I read it. Excuse me. I read it briefly, and then I went back to it, and there was like 178 comments, and
Yeah, wow.
which is a lot of comments. But I started reading through them, and there were women talking about I haven't had a period in 20 years or whatever, and they were all talking relatively about the same thing, which was menopausal type of symptoms, symptomatic of menopause, or not menopause, I'm sorry. What do you call it? Anyway, cycle,
Menstrual cycle. Yeah.
menstrual. And also that, like in her commentary, she was talking about this big ball of energy that was then released. And then I guess my light body must have had a really good time. The human didn't get to experience any of it, but she evidently took advantage of me in some way. But obviously I don't think it was about us so much. It was more of a collective feel, and I was just a symbolic representation maybe of the masculine. When she first told me about it, before she wrote the post, I said it sounds like some kind of equilibrium has been reached. And of course, this was before she posted. She had talked to a couple of friends. One of them who hadn't had, that hadn't been part of her life for quite a while. She was experiencing it, but almost like giving back what wasn't theirs. And then
Yeah.
also, and I don't know if she talked about it in the post, but just in us talking about it, her understanding from the higher self was, when she asked about it, was that the womb, obviously the womb is the core of creation, and that it needs to be cleansed to perfection for what's
Mm,
coming, I guess, or what's here. So,
mm,
and the fact that so many women have responded to it is
mm.
that's not a coincidence. I mean, there's something to that.
Well, and also that aspect that you just mentioned about your light body and her light body. James, as you know, like James and I have been doing so much clearing, so much purging of old patterns between us as masculine and feminine. And just 2 nights ago, I just I channeled Carly through me, and I was in complete rage. And he was my he was what I was raging at, and because there was this energy that needed to clear between us. And he then was telling me last night that he went and he did some work with it yesterday. And what he discovered was, he said he felt like this energy was, because it was about need between, particularly the masculine for the feminine, which is what you were saying, is kind of like drawing that energy from the feminine. And he said he felt like he was imagining that I was there and I was the lioness and I was dancing around and he was the lion, and he was like feeling the energy, and he just wanted to, he just wanted to take me. And he said that, and in the visualization that happened, and it started to get really violent, like not passionately violent, but like really destructively violent. And he saw that, and he said it would have been so easy for him to go down that path in the visualization and explore that, and go to that. But he realized that no, that's not actually what I need to do. I need to withdraw that energy from this field and actually bring it back to purity between us, so that it is this beautiful, loving, pleasurable experience. And so that was another cleansing and a releasing of that need from the masculine to the feminine, which drains energy from the feminine as well.
Yes.
So many layers to that.
Yeah, a friend of mine that puts up some really good posts every day. He put up a post yesterday, and I sent it over to Morgan, and it had to do with the yoni. It had to do with that being what it is, the core of creation, and also it mentioned the man's role, which and kind of getting this mixed up with something Morgan had written and sent to me, which had to do with she's to receive, he's to give. And so anyway, I sent her this. I just sent her this post that he put up, this meme, which was pretty cool. And she wrote back and she said, that must have been pretty intimidating for for a boy, right? Like, when you start to enter that field. And it just took me back to my first relationship, my first, I guess, intimate relationship. And it just took me back, and I remember back in that time when I was becoming intimate with my first girlfriend, and I just remember, now that I have the experience and have gained some knowledge and awareness, I remember in my head going like things like, I'm made for this, and not in a masculine egoic way, but like, wow, this is so natural. Like I know what to do, and it was pure, and I just went back to that point. And then I just went a little further during that relationship, which was about a year and a half. And at some point it began to shift. And I remember, because then I realized at that point, now I'm 15 years old, 14, 15 years old. And I guess what was happening, I was realizing the power, or at least the way I perceived it, the power that I had. And so then I think the next year I had a relationship, and the next year I had a relationship. And in both cases, it wasn't what it might have been like the first couple of encounters, but it was not the same energy as, when I first stepped into that field in innocence. It was more of, wow, look what I can do. And then I've always been, I'm not a choir boy, but I've never been a philanderer. But in the third relationship, again, this would have been like the third year into my intimate relationships, I cheated, and so I wasn't being driven anymore by that genuine, innocent, innate kind of energy. I was being driven by what I can only, and it's a shame to have to say it, but the energy of manipulation. Even though I was unconscious and I was unqualified, and I didn't have the life experience that I would have later. But yeah, so, and for this to be happening, and then for you to be coming on today, and for you and James to have just gone through this, and then for the natural or unnatural weather pattern that's occurring in what seems to be, in my opinion, the epicenter of this whole thing since it started 2 years ago. Like, there's something about that, that's, at least at a minimum, it's as good of a coincidence as this weather pattern that's looks like fuckery.
Yeah, I think, the weather pattern, as we said, is a natural weather pattern. There is fuckery involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and these patterns as well, they are natural patterns. And we, for us all to be, so many of us to be experiencing something similar, like maybe they're not similar, maybe they're not the same situations, but energetically
Yeah.
they all have that purification as their at their core.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel is happening here. It's this
Yeah.
constant purification. Even the fuckery that's going on, there is still the purification energy.
Yeah. Diane River, my friend, I think she's in North Carolina. She just put, we've got some weather coming here. And we've had patterns coming through here. And we've got, I think it's moving in the next, 12 hours or so. Tornadoes, severe rain, thunderstorms. But yeah, the thing is, and like I walked out, I've come through here now. We've lived here for about a little over a year and a half, but I had been coming through here since I left Houston in 2016 for for different periods of time. So I'm somewhat familiar with it. It's
Where
not.
are you now?
I'm in Arkansas.
In Arkansas.
Which is not like the town that I live. I live in a small town of 20,000. Which is right next to the main city in this region, which is only 100,000, which is nothing in the United States. That's nothing. But, and obviously there's a lot of small towns around, but we're at the base of the mountains and into the mountains. And I did notice over the years coming through here that there was a lot of chemtrails. And once you'd see and they'd literally look like a checkerboard. Not so much in the last year and a half, but when I had come before, and what would happen is almost immediately after, like clockwork, there would be this giant rainy weather pattern would come through. So 2 days ago, or no, it was yesterday. Yesterday I walked outside and I saw some chemtrails, and they were crazy because they weren't horizontal. Some were, but they were literally like crosses, and I mean very distinctive. And I thought, wow, that's really weird. But I'm with you. Even if there's fuckery behind what's initiated it, the energy itself is bigger than it all, and it's working in perfection. So I think this cleansing of the womb, which seems to be what we're talking about, if we look at it from an energetic level for individuals or the collective even, it's a very good sign, I think.
Yeah. And her energy responds to the opposite and equal energy with which it needs to respond. So, like around here, the Tweed River, one of the major rivers, has changed its course because of the power of the water that came through that area. And she responded to the energy with which she was being provoked. And that's, when you look at history, that's not happened for the feminine. The feminine has been so repressed, but naturally she has the ability to respond to that level. And that, I feel Kali like so powerfully right now. But in that rebirth and renewing energy when we come to the space of purification.
Yeah. Yeah, when Morgan described to me, because she basically told me, she said, she'd lay down, she connected, and she said this big ball of energy just formed in her womb, and she had a lot of feelings. This was in her post, but then she actually, what is this? She actually jumped on top of me, and the energy was then quite forcefully pushed into me. Morgan, if you're on, Mike Felt is trying to join, and I'm not sure what that's about. Thank you. But in it, there were a lot of emotions. There was a lot of emotions and I don't think she used the word rage, but it was pretty. Oh, she said, "Oi, Todd, I left those bits out." Well, you know me, I'm an open book. I'm sorry. But
you're just responding to me being open about mine in general.
Get me off the hook, sister. No, but the point being that I knew, like when she told me the story, I just knew innately that it was that she was giving it all back. She, the feminine, giving it all back, what wasn't hers, cleaning everything out, and in preparation. And this is why I'm excited and encouraged, because I feel like that there's this air of new creation that's really taking hold, and this, if this is happening before that starts to occur, then that's a really good sign, because they'll be pure. And then if, for instance, the masculine is responding energetically the way James is responding and coming into the awareness that he's coming, that just means that the conception is going to be pure, which is a beautiful thing.
Agreed. Yeah. So much synchronicity.
Yeah, I know.
Somebody's trying to get in contact with you, or?
I think she just sent people the new link, and this guy was just trying to get in. I think that's why I just figured it out. Yeah, you heard that noise?
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. He stopped.
Yeah, the little.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Just trying to get. So, how did you come into the Kali energy? Did you seek it out? Was it just part of your normal communion, or did it just something that came in your field, wanted to be seen?
Yeah, it was triggered by an external experience, and that I had taken some things personally, and I was feeling. I tapped into the energy of the experience of that which was being projected towards me, which we all have the ability to do as empaths, and took that and allowed myself to go into it. And James had actually done a healing with me the night previously, I think, and I integrated really powerful energy, like devil energy. I became the devil in my healing, and
Wow.
integrated that part of myself. And so clearly, like, I was still integrating that, and the devil needed to speak and come out for all the time that it had been suppressed by my mind, by consciousness. And this seemingly small event triggered that expression, which then created the next level for James and I to purify. So it was an external person, an external event, but James was there. He was the one.
Well, we have a little bit to bring to the table, to bring the balance back. I mean, we can be the well, and you mentioned this, and we talk about it, what that suppression has been, which is really kind of a light word for the experience of the feminine. And, you just, if you don't really, I think I said something to Morgan a few days ago, and I said, and we were talking about something, I don't remember the exact context, but I said, now, and it may have been that example I gave you a minute ago, and I said, but now that I can see from the eyes of the feminine, everything is different. I don't know what this guy's problem is, but unless he thinks he's supposed to be on right now, Mike felt. But anyway, but for instance, I was, sometimes I'll turn on YouTube just to see if I can find something, and something that's totally off the radar, just some kind of history or something. And I was watching this 15-minute video, and it was about people that lived in the mountains in, like, say, the 60s or 70s. And it was a story about a kind of a town bully. The story was actually about how the town he actually got shot and killed, and the whole town, knew about it, but nobody admitted to anything. So, but the buildup of the story was just like incredible. I mean, I was incredulous, because I was like, how does this happen, even in the 1950s? And so what it was, and I'm looking at it, of course, from an energetic level, this guy, who was obviously a very large energy that wasn't exactly balanced, and had some negative characteristics. So he got married, has a couple of kids, and then he goes and sees a 12-year-old girl, and decides he wants to marry her. And he takes her home and he threatens the family and all this drama and stuff goes on. But I was seeing it through that girl's eyes. She ended up having, I think, 11 kids with him. He was charged with statutory rape, but then he married her at 14, so he got off the hook because in that state, if you get married to the person that you raped, basically, then you're off the hook. I mean, it was just this, and as I was looking at it, I was going, wow, this is insane. I mean, this is a small community in the mountains where you would think people would be more in touch with nature and their own natural nature, yet here are these ridiculous patriarchal, archaic caveman laws that everything was just about putting her down. So it's deep.
Was
and
she? Was that girl though? Like, was she suppressed?
Absolutely.
Clearly, like
absolutely.
Like, from her human's perspective, did she feel like she was suppressed?
Absolutely.
She was aware of it.
Absolutely. Because the guy said, I want her, and the parents are like, no, you can't have her. She's 12 years old. He goes, well, if you don't do it, I'm going to kill, he threatened, to kill her or whatever. Okay. So after she had the first baby, she ran away and went back to the house, and then he came and got her, and she was on the video. So it would have been like, she would have been like 40, 45 by now. And she was just talking about it. He's dead. And yeah, you could just see how not just her, but the kids, and in the town even. And this was just a huge, distorted, masculine, really patriarchal creation that wasn't just affecting one feminine or one female. It was an entire... You know what I mean? So the destructiveness of it, and of course, the whole thing being based on the I would just say like the animalistic urges of the king of the jungle kind of mentality. So this is what, and again, there are no mistakes. There's no coincidences. Why am I watching this? In tune with her having this experience and, us going back and forth on it, reading all these women's physical accounts that are so close in what's occurring, regardless of age. It's just mind blowing. It's mind blowing. So it does, even though it feels and looks a little uncomfortable, and obviously I can't relate. It's not happening to me, but I have to go, wow, this is probably a really good thing, because if the womb is getting cleaned out and we're about to launch new creations, then the sky's the limit, basically.
But I wonder as well, like, if there is, because like, you're a man, but you're 49% feminine for all extensive purposes. And so is the embodied masculine experiencing in this clear out? There'd have to be physical experiences that the masculine is going through as well.
Well, I don't know, because I can speak for myself, and I probably don't want to go too deep, but just in general, I think for me, the last couple of years, there's obviously been, for all of us, a soul is a soul is a soul, has been, the continued devotion to growth and expansion, openness to the things that you can't see. So the normal course for everybody in these communities. But I felt like for a long time, holding space and not really just for her, the feminine, but for myself, for the feminine part of me. Feminine came out in me and many things. But I think the way I see it, the way I feel it for myself, and I can only speak for myself, has been that on or about February 22nd, something really lifted. Like something really lifted. And then fast forward about 30 days, because I remember the 22nd of March and these things, because I remember Morgan saying right after the 22nd of February, this is going to take about 3 or 4 weeks. And sure enough, I'm having a show probably with a lady, and we're talking about things in this context. And she goes, well, it's been 30 days today. I'm like, oh, well, here we go. So for me, it felt like the space holding was dramatically reduced. she
Mm.
had, we use that term, she stepped into her power, but to me it was more than that. Like she, the feminine, really aligned with herself. The confidence came in. There's no more looking over the shoulder, and so I can't really speak to it having any major change on me yet. But what I can speak to is that there's a big load. There's like maybe a higher equilibrium or something like that. But I can feel that there's going to be a new good pressure on me to modify or have my role evolve in terms of how I support the overall situation of the triad as the masculine.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
but I haven't had. Let's see here. Oh, well, no, she's right. She just said, I just saw her name pop up. So yeah, that's true. Thank you, honey. You have also recently had massive change in food intake, sleep patterns, physical discomfort, and purging. Yeah, this is true.
Hmm.
So I've been getting. So I come out of it. I'm much lighter, and I'm going, okay, wow, look at her go. Like watching her, I just told her today, looking at your face for the last. I mean, it's just been amazing. Like I can
Mm.
see the innocence, the girl, the woman. And of course, that's my picture of the feminine, right? And I
Yeah.
could feel like, okay, something's going on here. My soul starts telling me, hey, and this is just for me. You need to lighten up. No meat.
Mm.
You just get back, pretty much, straight juicing. I usually have a snack, which might be an organic salad. I just made some organic beans, but nothing, not overeating. My stomach, my weight's going down very quickly. I feel better. But at the same time, I'm having these massive periods in dream state. Some of them I can recollect and some of them I can't. I'm not sleeping a normal pattern. I'll sleep 2-3 hours. I might sleep another hour during the day. I mean, that's all going out the window. And my understanding is it's gone for me. That staying with a light diet, an organic diet, with the idea to be as light as possible for what's coming. And then the other
Yeah.
thing she mentioned, I was having, I had a history of back pain for about 12 years, and it was very debilitating. And then I worked out of it these last few years. But I had until yesterday, I had about 2 weeks of a nerve pain, and I knew exactly where it was in my body. So it would have been at the very point where it would then spread from. So in my past experience, I would be feeling it in other parts of my body and never really get to that point. But the interesting thing about where this was located would be literally at the core, like where the sciatic nerves come, the coccyx, and the hip comes together. Like, and it was small but painful, and I knew that it had something to do with this clearing. And as she's been talking about, I think maybe some others have been talking about, this has been a real deep root cleaning. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm glad you reminded me of that because that might be able to help somebody if they're going through something like that. But yeah, I just feel like that the
Yeah.
masculine, for me anyway, this phase is over. She's
Yeah.
she's moving forward.
Yeah.
Things feel nice. They feel harmonious, but there's work to be done. And my
Yeah.
role is going to be probably moving into something that's more suited for me innately, which is movement, support, and just basically providing energetically.
Mm. Some quite a bit of what you just talked about in relation to, being able to see and connect with her within you. That's what I've heard James experiencing and talking about too, is just that connecting with that lightness and the joy and the beauty of her, and really feeling her in his heart and also in his throat, and yeah, he's been experiencing that. And those, when you just talked about like this really the really targeted physical aspects, I've been experiencing those too, like just the knowing and in that base sacral area. has been very, it's almost like fine tuning her power, and that gives the embodied masculine more power too, doesn't it? Because you're connecting with that lightness and the joy and the ability to respond
Yeah.
in a balanced way.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is because and again, and I remember we were talking about this the other day too. I remember when I first woke up in 2011, and I was having my own visions and everything were happening, and I remember specifically because it was always about Father God. The ascendeds that came in and sat with me were all men. The only feminine that I saw were Mother Mary, and again, I understand these are energetic symbols, and Magdalene. But there wasn't a lot of interaction or communication with those two specific entities. And then one night, I was connecting, and I went up the hill, so to speak, to see Father God, and he stuck his head out the window, and he says, "What do you want?" And I said, "Well, I need to talk to you." And then I heard a woman's voice, and I said, "Wait, I didn't know you had a wife." And he said, "Yeah." And it was presented to me in kind of a humorous way, but from there I had like a download, and I was shown how basically the cycle of creation works. So now if I fast forward to even like my work with Soulogy before I physically met Morgan, there was always this, everything that I put out, whether I was shadowed or not, was always basically this force of energy or expression that I was trying to get her attention, basically. And so when I met her, then it really made sense because literally, I mean, and I was traveling around and just doing different stuff, and we would be mostly connected, sometimes disconnected. But everything I did, like literally every spirit walk video I did, that was always first in my mind. And it wasn't a human to human fixation or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It was innate. And so
Yeah.
over
No.
time I realized, hey, this is how it works. This isn't attachment. That's the muse. That's the inspiration. So the reason I'm saying this is because now when I look at her, I'm seeing her. And this is not about the feminine doing her shadow or he did the shadow or who did what. It's just about a field of creation now where I can look on the other side of the triad and I see her for what she is. And there's
Yeah.
no static and there's no haziness. So that itself is awe inspiring. And now I'm in this place of going, okay. And I just told her a while ago, I got to lay down. I can't talk right now because I got to sit with myself because something's coming in. And my understanding is that my role is about to change and it's going to be more in line with my natural innate knowing of myself in the role that I play. So my human has basically been very emotional. I'm probably this far away from crying right now. I don't know why, but I think what it is, it's a lot for the human aspect. The rest of me's fine, but the human
Sure.
aspect's going, holy shit, you've already, been through all the stuff you've been through. Now the real work starts. And I'm going, oh my God, what is this going to be? Right. So it's got me a little bit, I'll be honest with you, it's got me a little bit, not, I'm not imbalanced about it. I know I'm in a sacred field with myself, with her, with the world, whatever. But I know that the real work's starting now. That's the only way I can put it. And it's a little bit, like I said, I've been crying. So, I think last week I cried 2 shows straight when it first started coming in.
Yeah. Yeah. Your description is so similar to the conversation that James and I had last night. And so, that that feels like that's the purification for the masculine too, is being able to see her completely for what she is. And I loved what you said about everything that's coming from you is directed to her, like that full, complete field of radiance. And and being able to know that that's what you're putting out, so that's what is being received by you. And yeah, and that was very similar to the conversation that we had last night as well.
Yeah. It's like my
But
I'm still old school. I still turn into Todd the little kid, at night when I lay down, and I'm like, I have a talk, and I'm like, I just want to serve, and I just want to, so it's all about expressing, like the inspiration provided, and then my expression of her, like my
mm-hmm,
expression of my inspiration of her. Her is the whole thing. It's
mm-hmm,
creation. It's what I used to call God. But it's that, and so you're right. I mean, it's just been amazing every day to see her face, and I'm seeing this obviously in other places too. I'm seeing it with you. I'm seeing it just in the way I don't know, the new frequency, or a purer frequency, or whatever. So I can't even imagine what's it going to look like, and what's she going to look like in 30 days. When this stuff that the women are going through in the physicality really takes hold and starts to manifest in the energy that they carry, in the mirror that they provide, which
mm-hmm,
just is going to create inspiration. I mean, this is how I know I'm supposed to operate. I'm supposed to grab the inspiration and create something with it.
yep,
That's creation. I'm creator. And then as I do that, that must be, as it was explained to me 12 years ago, that's the seed. And then she receives, and then she creates a newer world. And then you go,
yeah,
whoa, okay, let's do it again, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
How powerful when you're doing that with more and more consciousness.
right? It's it's literally sacred, the sacred sexual intimacy, period. Like it just makes it clear to me that life itself, moment by moment, is that. I happen to be in a
Mm-hmm,
male body, or let's just say a masculine energy in this incarnation, and that's all that matters. I understand the role, and so I feel really, really good about the field that the masculine and the feminine are meeting in now. It's not
yeah,
distorted.
true.
It's not distorted. It's clear, and now I can see her, and the world can see her, and I think that's what's happening. And some of this we got into last week, and there was a lot of good stuff said with the people that came on, the women that came on, but that's how I feel, regardless of all the
Mm.
fuckery, right? You know what I mean?
That's just kind of out there. It's happening. It's always been happening. It probably will always continue happening, but none of it actually matters when we realize how powerful we are, and as an individual, and then, in communion with other humans, we're so powerful, and all of that fuckery just doesn't matter.
No, no, and if
That's
and if you look at it like you were saying, to your point, like let's just say, for the sake of the discussion, that the weather patterns that y'all have been subjected to were created man-made with ill intention. I can just see, after listening to you, the Kali energy, which everything is her, right? So she's like, wait a minute, I'm going to transform this, and I'm going to make it work for the universal, into new
mm,
into this whole pattern. So it's almost like it doesn't matter what comes or what it looks like. The
yeah,
bottom line is, and I've watched this since 2013. The women making posts, making expressions, and there was all different characteristics along the way. Sometimes it was like almost warrior like, and sometimes it was like, hurry up, you assholes, we're waiting on you.
yeah,
But it's become softer and softer and softer.
yeah,
And now it just feels like, again, to me, it's like everything I've been through, and this is what shook me. Um, walking the streets for 2 years and forging through that. Everybody has their own spirit walks, right? But now it's like the message is, hey, we're here. It's an equal playing field. We're now in our proper roles. That's all you got to worry about, and get ready.
Yeah.
And so my human's just like going, oh shit. I mean, I'm going to have to like move, or what's going to happen, or, you know. And she mentioned something else that's been big too, was the letting go. Like she called me the other day and she's like, well, we were talking and I said something about letting go. Oh, you got that too? And I said, yeah. And I said, but you know, I'm good with that. And I'm good with letting go of anything. But she said, well, at a deeper level. Well, I get that now, because what that is actually not about person, places, and things. It's actually about the moment itself, right? It's actually a moment by moment kind of frequency, just like spontaneity is not a finite frequency. It's actually meant to be a constant, or it is a constant that we hadn't tapped into or that we hadn't seen. And I think this works the same way. The letting go is the unbridled flow of the soul.
Yeah. Well, even, you know, and even the word artificial intelligence, it's not real, and yet the soul's knowing is real. And so that means that when we're working and living in soul, every moment is real, and anything that's not in this moment is not real. And that means that when we do that, we can allow ourselves to let go, and we can recognize that the artificial intelligence is just that. It's artificial, and our power is so massive. And I think that's what the human is having trouble comprehending right now, because we've been so conditioned to believe that we're so powerless. And, you know, that was something that I burned in ceremony this morning. Was I burned away the need to be powerful because I feel powerless. And that need to be powerful means that sometimes I project, you know, in an unconscious way, that need to be powerful into the world. And you know, so I acknowledged that this morning, because I am not powerless, and I've got so much evidence to show me that I am powerful, because I can see my creation and feel my creation and experience my creation and sense my creation and know my creation.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but the human really struggles with it.
Well, I mean, I think that's what you just said is what I couldn't say as well as you just said, which is there's something different about her being the mother energy that is everything, right? That's most prominent in our human experience in the form of the feminine, right? And that is, she's at ease, right? At ease with herself, like sees herself for what she is now, but embodied in the body. And so, and then like even what you're talking about with what you were with your internal dialogue, that's a level of awareness, you know, that overextension, overcompensation because you feel something that you're not. Well, you know, I feel a bit powerless, so I'm going to overexert to show my power, and yet now you're going, well, that's not even real. I'm not powerless, so there's no reason to be over the top. So this is what I'm talking about with this presence. The presence being these things that apply in the moment, that run in perpetuity. Now that we don't have obstructions, is the spontaneity aspect, the letting go aspect. I mean, the letting go is another example. Like you're talking about with the powerless. Well, it's not even real, because there's nothing to let go of, because oneness is oneness, right? So it's like, so it's really weird. But I think that
it's really weird.
It is. I think that the energy of the physical manifestation and representation of the feminine, that's why I said, what's it going to look like in 30 days? Walking the earth, carrying that in the physical form, is what I'm starting to feel. Like, okay, now things have changed. It's weird. Everything's clear. Wow, this is cool. And because she is what she is, we don't know where this is going. We just have to wait for the babies to pop out. And then the creations to pop out. And then the inspiration cycle starts, and here we go.
Yeah, totally. Exciting times.
It really is.
Wow, the wind really picked up here while I've been talking to you.
There's no mistake. Yeah, and it looks pretty funky over here. Oh, so what do you think will, like on your end, what do you think this new equilibrium with the genders is going to bring? What do you think that's going to look like?
Truth and true power. The visual that just came to mind was Magdalene and Yeshua when you said that, and all the distortions that have been placed on them. But they were standing side by side, and they created something. They created something magical together. But we don't actually, it's been so distorted throughout history. But really, what they created was truth and love. And I think as more of us allow ourselves to move into that space, which we've all been doing now for a long time, but as the vibration raises, we raise, and we're constantly called to step up and step in, and that just brings more with us. There's this ability to see more greatly. It's like this expansiveness. I'm kind of rambling because I can't put words to it exactly, but it just feels like truth and love, and I don't know exactly what that means, because I believe that the distortions will continue in some reality. But they will be less prevalent than the truth,
right,
for a period of time, because of, it's not just Magdalene and Yeshua, it's the energy, the archetype that those two represent. Can you hear me? You're frozen.
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. Those two are simply an energy that's represented amongst humanity, and I feel as though so many of us are coming to connect with those two energies. And so those two energies, in the masculine and the feminine form, are meeting one another. Like you were saying, you're meeting Morgan at this whole new place, I'm meeting James at this whole new place, and there's so many of us. So like Morgan's post, there's hundreds of women, and we all feel the same.
Right.
And when you speak, when James speaks, when guys like Tom here speak, there are people who feel the same, and all of a sudden they've got the opportunity to go, yeah, that's right. And so we're all meeting each other in that place, which is what we experienced, all those years ago, of like, no, we're going to meet in this higher place. And therefore, that's the world that we're creating, that new world order that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. That's what we're all creating together, is this place of truth and love. And none of us really know, none of our humans really know what that looks like, because we've not lived in that.
That's right.
In this lifetime.
That's right. That's true. Because like for me, I know through my whole life that, and of course, like everybody, you're not perfect, and the environment can beat you, whether it be in the corporate world and trying to hold certain ideals up that were the core values, written core values of a the biggest company in my industry, or, in the industry in this country, that weren't being upheld, but doing my best to uphold it. But you're basically beating your head against a wall, and eventually you're going to be brought down. That's actually how she must have felt the entire time. Like knowing that no matter what, like I know, because I am the mother. I know the truth, and I know what love is. Yet I can't really parlay that any further than my own space, because the realm itself doesn't support it. It destructs it. And now that's changed,
Yes.
and you're right. We don't know what that looks like, because we've never consciously lived it. So
Yeah.
so this is going to be
And for,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and when you talk about, when you say the between the masculine and the feminine, I mean, there's that level of androgyny because we're all becoming fully complete humans rather than just the distorted man or the distorted woman. And so we're meeting at that place as well. And that brings a whole new dynamic too, because the triad within is meeting the triad without. And so,
Yes.
that's so much more powerful too.
Yeah, I think the math is totally different too. You're right. Because it's
Yes.
not just a
Yes.
singular component spinning out there. It's like one's right next to it and it's doing it, and they meet, and then that creates,
Yeah.
so it's like a totally different, like a exponentially steroidic reaction. That's another thing that have you been able to, and I know it's still fresh, right? I mean, this feels very fresh to me. It feels like up till the 22nd of February was like a preparation, and now it's starting to permeate through our experience, our shared experience. But have you been able to discuss this, like with family, siblings, soul siblings, blood siblings? I mean, is this something that you're seeing people are open to or even picking up on?
In different levels, yeah. I mean, I've got a couple of soul sisters that I kind of discuss this stuff with, and yeah, with family specifically, no, not at this level. Like I don't. James, James and I really get each other, and so we can have these conversations. And obviously, you and I get each other. We can have these conversations, but in general, day to day life, that's yeah, it's not. Though I've got a number of sister circles where we do discuss stuff at this level too. So yeah, and we're holding the light, and there's so many of us doing our own work, holding our own fractals.
Hmm.
And like you said, there's the math has changed. The geometry
Mm-hmm.
is so powerful, and it's so much more powerful than we actually realize. And no matter what the consciousness of each person involved, it's all important, and it's all part of the larger whole. Because if we can have a conversation with someone, then that's creating some sort of geometry. And and that's really powerful. Even if there's resistance there,
Mm-hmm.
it's still powerful, because we're allowing ourselves to have that conversation and to make those voices. So I guess the short answer is yes, I'm having these conversations with everybody, but at different levels.
Well, and for me, because I know that this, you can look at what we all share and you can break it down, and it's not 100% even.
Mm,
I'm in a male body, you're in a female body. There are exceptions to that, and we have to honor that. I could be
mm,
I could be a majority of me could be a feminine energy, and I was working the other direction, right? But I really feel that one of the things that's happening, and I've seen it in men that have come on the show from October forward. Not every one of them, but I can see the feminine coming out. I could certainly see it in myself. I've seen my yoni, for
mm,
Christ's sake. I mean,
mm,
in dimension, right? And I mean, but I'll give you an example. Like, I had an interaction with a man who I've known for maybe a couple of years. I've also made some comments to Morgan about men and women on a personal level. Like, I'm not going there anymore. Uh, I love them and I have no charge, but I'm just not going to go there because it's not in
mm.
balance. And I realize now this is my feminine speaking.
Yeah.
So, in a perfect example, is this interaction I had with a friend of mine earlier today. Now, this friend of mine has a certain pattern. And this pattern is, give me this, give me this, give me this. Anytime they approach me, it's like, hey, you can do this, or you need to do this on your show, or you need to do this, or you need to do this. And so I just kind of like didn't engage that. And I never said anything because he's connected to someone who's also very close to me. So maybe I would have punched him in the face, had that not been the case. But anyway, what happened today was I had about a week and a half ago actually reached out to him and several people for a specific reason. I said, hey, if you know, could you help me and help my friends, basically. And so I get this message from him today that was basically saying, are you still looking to do this? And well, I never was. This was about my friends. It wasn't about me, which told me that they weren't very present with what I had said in the first place, right? And I said, I wrote this really strange message to them. And I put, he goes, it must have been somebody else. And I said, no, it was me. It was about my friends. And you responded and said that you would assist. You didn't. I followed up. You didn't answer. And I said this. I said, so it's really about being present or not. Peace.
Yeah.
And I pushed send, and I was like, what did I just do? See, and my point is, normally, in the old days, or even weeks ago, I would have said, hey, pal, okay? And I would have hit him with a masculine fist right between the, energetic fist right between the eyes and called him out. But I didn't. I just spoke direct. I didn't mince any words. I wasn't out of the 0 point. I wasn't out of balance. I wasn't charged. I didn't stick it to him. I just said what I said, and I let it go. And I'm like, wow.
And there's no need to be powerful, because you knew that you were powerful in that moment, and you knew what you'd said. That sense of knowing was so strong in you that it's like, no, this is how it is. See ya.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
And that's how I think that more of us are going to interact with one another.
Yeah, I guarantee it. I mean, and that's my point. It's the feminine in all of us, but you see it primarily like the post. You didn't see men, I mean, obviously there's a physical challenge, but in Morgan's post, you see this physical embodiment of what's occurring, and it's primarily going to show up, obviously, in the feminine. But I'm just saying that I had this happen today, and I'm sitting here going, what the hell did I just do? This isn't my style. This isn't something I would do, right? But if I looked at the body of it, and it was very succinct, it was just A, B, C, D, E. And I thought, okay, there it is, right? I'm very comfortable with what I did. I let it go.
Yeah.
Only because it came up in the context of this conversation did I mention it. So
yeah.
It's
beautiful.
It's encouraging. It's exciting. And it is such a vast unknown. I spend my time going, I am going to materialize. I'm not going to need an airplane. I don't need to worry about it. I mean, this is where I'm at. I'm like, I'm seeking this. But I'm finding that as her wisdom comes in, it's like, okay, that's great, Todd. Good job. But, and you're trying to find the path to that. Let's just say the etheric neural pathway to get there. But I need for you to let go. I need for you just to project from your heart. That's all I need to know. And I'm like, okay, Mother Universe, I got you. But it leaves you, at least me, it leaves me as a man, as a builder and so on, it leaves me kind of standing here going, okay, this is all I got to do is just love you because you know all my dreams, and you'll produce the field of the playground for me based on my love for you. And then it starts again, right? I mean, it's trippy. really trippy. And I'm glad I'm not the
And
only one.
so
Jim,
powerful we are in that space.
yeah, really, yeah. So it's always great talking to you. You know how I feel about you guys. So, you know, I just leave it at that. But yeah, thank you.
You look fantastic too. It's no wonder that like Morgan's imagining.
Yeah.
I know what she's imagining, even if she left it out.
Oh, what a way to end the day. I woke up in tears this morning. I literally woke up. I only slept about two and a half hours, and I was with her in dream state. Now I can't tell you the details, but as soon as I opened my eyes, I got
You don't have to. No.
I got well, I mean, it was adventures or whatever was happening, but it was just the fact that I was in the proximity of it, right? And so as I'm coming out and I'm waking up, tears just start coming out. I'm like, I literally said this, I don't want to come back. It was like an out of body experience where you're like, I don't want to go back to the earth. But yeah, amazing times. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Oh, so much love to you.
Yeah. You take care. I'll see you when I see you.
Love you.
All right,
Bye.
love you too. Bye-bye.